Who are you?
Whoever you want me to be.
Don't say I never gave you anything.
It's feeling epic.
3 words. 8 letters.
I remember everything.
Hello, and welcome back to Previously on Teen TV. I'm Jillian Benani.
And I'm Claire Wojciechowski.
And we have another very special episode for you today. We're talking all about death.
Just a light topic for your listening pleasure.
Keeping it light today. I promise it's not as bleak as it seems, but I am still reeling after the death of JJ. So we thought it was a good time to, break down what some of the most shocking deaths in teen drama history were. Most shocking, the ones that hurt the most, the ones that have stuck with us all these years.
Mm-hmm. And we feel very differently about this because I think I tend to lean toward I'm sad to lose them, but it's for the greater good. It makes sense in the storyline. Look at all the great material we get out of it. And you feel differently.
I feel very differently. I'm like, absolutely not. How could you do this to us? Find a different storyline. I hate it. I hate it when we get these characters killed off. It just hurts too much. I'm too attached.
I feel like you take it as a personal attack.
I do.
You're like,
I'm like, did we not show them enough love?
How dare you do this to me?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That is how I feel about it. I get very personal about it.
No, I love that. I love your enthusiasm and your passion for the characters.
I love that you're able to calm me down with it and be like, I think the storyline will go in a good direction. It's going to be okay. So I do appreciate your optimism with it.
Well, thank you. We provide a good balance then.
So we are going to break down our top 5 most shocking teen drama deaths. Should we get into it?
Let's get started.
So we're going to start with least shocking and go to most shocking. And least shocking is still shocking,
yes,
by the way. I just mean we're going to go from, lowest to highest.
Right. There are certainly more deaths that we don't have time to talk about today, but of the 5 we're talking about, this was the least.
And the 5 we're talking about are all main characters. They were in the opening credits. No guest stars here.
No, that doesn't count.
No 10-episode arc here.
I'm not shedding a tear for someone who's recurring status. Excuse me.
Sorry, Abby Morgan. It's not your episode today. Maybe next time. Well, that goes into the first death we're going to talk about from Dawson's Creek. Jen Lindley, R.I.P. This was a sad one.
Yeah, I think, she dies in the series finale of Dawson's Creek. It was teased by the show leading up to the series finale, but it was like, who is it going to be? Who's it going to be? And of course, they picked Jen.
And we learn that she has a fatal heart condition, and that causes her to pass away very young. I think that the tragedy of this is how young she was. Mm-hmm. She has a daughter.
Yeah.
It just seemed really dark.
Yeah, she's supposed to be in her mid-20s. I think they jump forward 5 years in the series finale, right. And it's from the end of sophomore year of college, 5 years forward. So they're maybe 25?
Yeah, very young.
And she dies? That's upsetting.
For a heart condition.
Yes.
That's sad. This is where I want you to pull out a car crash or something.
Right? Give her something dramatic.
Yeah.
But I will say they give her that goodbye, tearful video.
Right.
Where Michelle Williams pulls out the acting chops, man. We should have known.
I feel like she was probably excited that Jen was going to die in the last episode, only because I'm sure as an actor, you're like, oh, I get to play this part and everyone will remember this and remember my character maybe a little bit more.
I think so. I think I certainly would remember this more than if something else had happened to Jen.
Do you think that this worked for the character story? Were you happy with it?
Yes and no. I think Jen says, as she's in the hospital dying, I felt like I never fit. I felt like I was the girl that showed up and rocked the creek and I was an outsider. And that's sort of what she was throughout the show, that even though it went on for 6 seasons, they never really made it seem like she was an integral part of the group. It was always about the triangle, the Dawson, Pacey, Joey, and everyone else was just kind of there.
Yeah.
So I think that if someone's going to die or if someone's going to get disposed of or whatever, it makes sense that it's Jen, but also it didn't need to happen.
Well, that's what I find a little bit tragic about this one is I wanted her to feel like she was a part of the group and fit in, and to go through 6 seasons of a show and to still feel like an outsider, that makes me sad for her.
I know. And even again, you have to think about like this is 6 seasons of the show plus the 5 years. Like she's like been friends with these people for 10 years at this point, and she's like, I still don't feel like I fit in. And it's just her and Jack that are like buddies on the outside, and that's like a real bummer.
Well, and I'm really sad for Jack in this
Oh my God.
situation. He deserved better too.
Yeah, because like really, he's not that close with the other 3.
Right.
Like truly, they're on the outside together.
You
so
know they're not talking to him anymore. They were like, bye, Jen's gone. Like,
No.
it's just the 3 of us now.
well, he's still in Cape Side, and they're all off in their respective cities. They're like, they're leaving him behind.
The one thing, though, that comes out of Jen's death is that Joey is finally able to make a decision on Dawson versus Pacey. It just took one of her friends dying for this to happen.
Like literally, Jen says, I'm making it my dying wish. You have to choose. Her death is fully in service of this love triangle that doesn't involve her.
I kind of love that. Like, I feel like that's something I would do on my deathbed. Like, I need you to decide, please. I feel like it's just like Jen is a fan just like the rest of us, and she wants to know.
Okay, question for you though. Do you think that Joey told Jen her choice before Jen died? Because she's about to say it, and then, you know, someone walks into the room, they get interrupted. Classic.
I think yes.
Okay.
I just feel like that's the least she could do for Jen.
Yeah, I agree. I hear you.
And I just like the poeticness of that. I think it's sweet, and I like a nice moment between the 2 of them.
Yeah, I would have liked more moments of the 2 of them overall, but I think that scene at the end where like they're in the hospital together and Joey's like fluffing her pillow was really nice.
Yeah. I will say at least they killed Jen off at the very end. So we still got her throughout all the show. This wasn't like a season 3 thing, thank God. I really would have lost it then.
No, that would have been horrible.
But what else could they have done instead of killing her off?
I mean, for starters, she could have raised her child. That would have been nice. And I think too with Jen's story is that she didn't have great parents. She had parents that were sort of absent. She sort of raised herself, was a bit of a wild child. It would have been nice to see her break that cycle and be a mother, a really hands-on, loving mother to this kid, and to sort of grow up with the baby as like, not like quite Lorelai Gilmore style, but you know, she like could find a direction and a purpose in raising this kid.
I think that is what's so sad about this one is Jen is a bit of a tragic character. She had a tough life. She had it hard growing up. And then to just feel like she never really found her way and then dies. It's just so sad. I'm like, can we please have happiness for her? Like full happiness.
I know. I wanted her like to have some sort of happily ever after, some sort of growth. Like maybe she's mentoring other young girls who were like need a direction as well. Maybe she's like killing it in her career. I don't even know what career she was pursuing.
I know.
But maybe she figures that out and is like a boss like lady or something. I don't know.
And I feel like she would have been. Like I feel like that would have worked for her character to be just somebody like have a strong, fulfilling life, like raising her daughter, maybe starting a business. Like I could see that for her. I just feel like there are so many directions you could have done with this character. And I just don't know if we fully needed that. We could have had all the Dawson's people get together in some other way than this tragic ending. Kill off another parent or something.
Well,
they can go.
I mean, the thing is too is that they're already gathered in Cape Side for Dawson's mom's wedding.
Right.
So like, couldn't that be enough?
I know.
Like, couldn't Gail, who was like a surrogate mother kind of to Joey, be like, you know,
right,
like if it's not my son, but like make a choice. You
Yeah.
know? So that could have been something really special too.
And I'm sorry, I just gotta say it. Graham's outliving Jen is kind of wild. Like I had to say it.
I mean, she does have that where she like kisses her on the head and she's like, "I'll see you soon, child." It was just like, whoa.
Okay, that was a sweet moment.
It was, but I know, but it is crazy.
I will say though, those moments in the finale, like they pull at your heartstrings. So I did really appreciate that at the end of Dawson's Creek, they really just decided to like go for it.
I know we do get like a nice little, at the end of part 1 of the 2-part finale, a little musical montage to this song Say Goodnight, which I was like obsessed with growing up because of that scene. And I think it's used in Dawson's Creek a couple times throughout the years. And it's like people going, I think Dawson is going around telling everyone that Jen is dying. Like he's the one that's breaking the news to all of the friends, or Jack maybe. But I think that has like lived in my brain of like that montage of that song and like the friends being like, oh no, this is like real life now.
Yeah, I do think that this made the finale more memorable, and it was something that this group hasn't dealt with yet. Like, yes, they dealt with the death of Dawson's dad, but here you're losing somebody that you grew up with. That's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
So I do like that they did take it there as far as the story goes, because it makes it memorable. It makes it a little bit more worth it.
Yeah.
I think than if it just had been like, oh, we're just at Dawson's mom's wedding, like hanging out, you know? I think that this really like, it's a gut punch, but it's memorable.
Yeah.
You're remembering montages.
I'm remembering montages. And I do feel like it's a really nice way to sort of, we're ending the show and we're ending this like youthful chapter of their lives. Like we see them as adults in the working world. Joey finally makes a decision. Dawson gets that call from Spielberg. Jack is like in a happy relationship. So like, you know, Jen doesn't get her happy ending, but we see everybody else sort of and where they're headed. And it's really a nice, like, welcome to adulthood.
It kind of moves things forward,
Yeah.
for sure. One other just tragic thing about this that I find a little bit annoying is that we had to kill off the like rebellious teenager, like the one who like lost her virginity earlier on and like had, you know, drank a little and did some drugs. Like, why do we always have to kill off that one?
Well, because, you know, you break the rules and you disobey the Lord and you get punished.
Well, that is like, I'm kind of like, not a great lesson, I feel like, in my opinion.
No, not very good. Not something you want to teach, you know, your mostly female young audience, but
I don't know who else she really would have killed off. So,
yeah.
I don't know. But R.I.P. Jen, forever in our hearts.
You were too good for this world.
She was. She was. That's the most sad part about this, too, is that they can't do, like, a reboot or reunion or anything like that. Like, you could have had Michelle Williams for that, and now you're not going to get it.
They literally, remember that you did that EW reunion cover and they asked about a reboot and she was like, well, my character's dead, so I'd have to be a ghost. Like, she like made a joke about it. But like, yeah, like you can't have her in the reboot. Like, that really sucks.
I know. I feel like now they would like never do that. They're like, we got to leave it open for a reboot.
No one's dying on our watch.
All right, next up on our list, on number 4, we have the tragic ending to Keith Scott on One Tree Hill. So as we all remember, Keith risks his life to try and stop Jimmy Edwards from hurting himself or anyone else in the school, and Dan decides to use that moment to kill Keith because he wrongly believes that Keith tried to kill him. I mean, wow, what a couple sentences.
It is very convoluted as to how and the why of what happens to Keith.
This is one of the most irritating, infuriating deaths, I think, on one of these shows, in the sense that it really just felt like it was a ploy for ratings, and they just took it too far. Like, we know Dan Scott is a bad guy, but to actually make him a murderer, like, completely changes this show.
Yeah, I think, too, it makes it difficult for them to go anywhere with his character. Like, how do you keep this guy on the show involved in all these storylines when you know that he's done this despicable thing?
Like, I never forgave him.
No.
You can't, like, 100%. It's, like, too dark.
And even that, like, they try to grapple with that, like, with, does Nathan forgive him? Like, do they let him around the grandkids? Like, that's
right.
like, for seasons to come, they're sort of debating that. And he like goes to prison and then he gets out and blah, blah, blah. But even so, it still just all feels kind of gross to me. It's like, I don't believe that you would actually like let him around your children.
Well, and I feel like it cheapens the school shooting episode. Like, you kind of had this like beautiful episode and then you end it with this. Like, it wasn't needed. The episode was already shocking enough. And then Dan like picking up the gun, like, just, I don't need more gunplay. Enough.
No, I hear you. Because the moment with Jimmy Edwards was very much about like him feeling ignored and unhappy,
Right.
and mental health and bullying and all of these things.
There was like a message to it.
Yes. And then they're like, surprise twist, like, ha ha ha.
Dan's gonna murder his brother.
Yep.
And Keith was such a beloved character on the show, which I think like why I take this as like such a loss. Normally I don't care much about the parents, to be
Sure.
honest, or I lose interest in them. But I feel like with Keith, he was such a good parent character on one of these shows where like a lot of the kids went to him. He didn't feel like too cartoonish as like a parent in one of these shows. And I just feel like there were a lot of ways where we could have used him and like built on him a little bit.
Yeah, well, I feel like the point that we get is that, you know, the Keith and Dan relationship is paralleled, at least in the beginning, with Nathan and Lucas.
Right.
And eventually Lucas and Nathan, you know, they make up and they become brothers, but like we still need that other side of the coin, that tension with the adults. And I think to use that would continue to create interesting storylines of like if we made up and like if Nathan gets closer to Keith, like what does that mean for his relationship with Dan and like their relationship between each other? Like it just could have been so much more interesting if they had kept him around and continued to grow that sort of discontent between Keith and Dan.
Well, and I love that like symbolism in the show. Like so much of how the show began is with that like season 1 storyline. And a lot of it is based around Dan and Keith. And then they just kind of like drop all the symbolism with that. And I think that you could have had some really great moments, especially when Nathan and Haley get pregnant. Like maybe when Nathan's freaking out, he goes to Keith for advice, and Keith kind of becomes the one helping him, and then Dan gets so jealous about that. Like there was just so much to do with all of their relationships, and Keith is connected to everybody.
Yeah.
You can't kill off characters that are connected to everybody in that way and kind of bring everybody together.
I'm also just still furious about the fact that like Karen and Keith finally get together after seasons of sort of circling each other, of him wanting her, and then she decides that she wants him. They're finally together, they're engaged, they're having a baby, and then he dies and leaves her completely alone to raise this child by herself. It's cruel.
They're also only together for a couple episodes. It's really not a long time. He comes back like mid-season 3 and is killed off by episode 16. Like, it is just so quick. I just feel like we could have maybe waited to do this or something. Like, give the guy a full season.
I know. We don't get enough of them. It's just rude.
Yeah.
It's just rude.
This one really irritates me. And it's like, at the end of the day, look, the show was still good. I love season 3. It was interesting to see, you know, Lucas dealing with this and how that affected him throughout his life. It's more just like, just kind of dirty.
Yeah, I think too, like, we do get this sort of like Lucas figuring out that Dan did this through season 4, but after that, like the rest of this show really moves on and is focused on the younger characters. And I do appreciate though that like Keith is never forgotten.
Yeah,
like
I like that.
They bring him up all the time. Like there's so much to do about Keith's ring, this engagement ring that he had for Karen, and Lucas gives it to Lindsay, and Will Paitwin still won it even though he gave it to Lindsay. Like all of this stuff. So like at the very least, they acknowledge him continuously throughout the years.
Yeah, I like that they didn't backpedal on the decision to kill him off. Like, it is a storyline that continues on for every character. Even Haley talks about it in later seasons. So I did appreciate that. I thought that was smart to do that with such a beloved character, like keep the conversation going about him. And I did really love the Christmas episode where Lucas is in the coma and is visited by Keith, and it's
the It's a Wonderful Life.
Yes. I mean, that's a great episode.
Yes, I think you picked it for our Christmas episode.
They just have what makes me sad about it is like Lucas and Keith in scenes together have such good chemistry, and it's so good. And I feel like when Keith was gone, I started to like Lucas less. Because I'm like, I really like their scenes together.
Yeah, I mean, Lucas can be annoying, as we all know, and Keith sort of like is the one that keeps him in line.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and without that, it's just like he's running around playing vigilante, trying to take down Dan on his own, and it's like, sir, you're a high school senior.
That was kind of fun, though. It really upped the drama factor, that's for sure.
Something good that came out of it.
Yeah. This is not season 1 One Tree Hill anymore.
Okay, well, moving on to number 3. We are going to talk about the death of Enzo St. John on The Vampire Diaries.
Ugh. Poor Bonnie.
This one is personally brutal for me because, as we know, Bonnie and Enzo were my favorite couple on the show. I don't really know why. I just really attached to them as a couple. And it looks like she's finally going to get that happy ending that she has been trying to achieve for 8 seasons. And Stefan walks up behind him and rips his heart out.
Not great. This is where I can't defend Stefan. Normally I can, but I can on this. My hands are up.
Fair enough. I mean, listen, his humanity was off. And he was there on orders to kill Elena, and Enzo just happened to be in his way, but it is brutal.
I could not believe that the show went there. I mean, Vampire Diaries kills off a lot of characters and they really keep the storyline moving. But this one, I was like, was this necessary? The show is almost over. We have like 1 episode left and you still can't give Bonnie any form of happiness.
I mean, it's just like we've gotten to know Enzo over the seasons. Like he's been around 3 or 4 seasons at this point. We've gotten to like him. We've seen his character grow. We've seen how like good he is to Bonnie and how he puts her first when nobody else does. They're planning this happily ever after where he's going to take the cure and he's going to be human and he and Bonnie are going to live together. And then Damon and Caroline talk her out of it. And they're like, no, sorry, you can't do that. We need the cure for something else. She reluctantly agrees. And then Stefan kills her, the love of her life. It's unnecessary because what did it change in the grand scheme of things?
Well, I hate a major character death when the show is about to end. And I feel like this one didn't really move much forward other than Bonnie being really sad and depressed. It just felt like in the bigger picture, the bigger storyline, this didn't really add that much to it.
No, it doesn't help her. It doesn't help them like defeat the devil in any way. It doesn't help them like win the fight. It doesn't save anybody's life. It doesn't provide any clarity. It just makes her pissed off.
Yeah.
But she still like helps Caroline, even though Caroline's fiance is the one that murdered her boyfriend. Like it's so cheap and unnecessary to me, especially because it is Bonnie who has sacrificed the most.
Yeah.
And just gets continually shit on.
That's why we really wanted her to have that happy ending because, I mean, it's a rough go for Bon Bon throughout all 8 seasons of The Vampire Diaries. I will say the only thing I somewhat like about this death, all right, hear me out.
Okay.
Is that I do like that it plays into like the overarching theme of like vampires are terrible. They are vampires. They are not good. And witches get played by them all the time.
Yeah.
That's like the one thing that I kind of like about it is I like when the Vampire Diaries reminds us of that and plays into that a little bit. And throughout the entire show, we see witches being like, what are you doing hanging out with vampires? What are you doing? Like, they're constantly like just getting destroyed by them. So I kind of like that this played into it a little bit and it was a ballsy move to do.
Yeah, I hear that. And I think that she learns that she has psychic abilities and we see her kind of like communicating with him or feeling his presence even after he's dead, but it's not the same.
I know.
Bonnie saves the day. She kills the devil and does it all seemingly on her own. Like she's the one that saves them in the end. And it's just like, cool. Now she's off on her own, like without the love of her life. But yeah.
I wish we could have had like a flash forward or something where we just saw her happy, like maybe with someone else traveling the world. I don't know, but I needed it could have even been a 10-year flash forward. Like I needed to see her happy, maybe with somebody else.
We don't even get that in like the spinoff, the legacies. Like they talk about her here and there, but it's never like about her life. It's like, oh, we contacted Bonnie, but like she couldn't help.
Yeah, I feel like Bonnie is probably like, I'm tapped out. I've helped you guys enough. Like, we're done.
I would be.
Yeah.
I mean, she's played her part, like I'd be like, you figure out the magic on your own. I'm going to go travel the world.
I really do hope that is what she's doing. And I hope she has a lover.
I do too.
I hope she has a new lover.
I'm sure Bonnie has a lover. I'm sure she's
Yeah.
doing okay for herself.
Yeah,
A human one. A nice, normal human man or woman, person.
Please.
Yeah. Stay away from the supernaturals.
Do you think that they did that partly because it's like Enzo's a vampire and like she shouldn't have been dating a vampire?
No, because again, he was willing to take the cure for her
I know.
and become human. So like if he's willing to do that, then like that would have been solved, I think.
I know. I'm just trying to find reason here.
I know,
you
I know.
But I'm very sorry for you, Claire.
Thank
I don't
you.
know what I would have done if this was my favorite ship. I would have written a petition or something.
I mean, it was like, what's there to do? The show's ending now. So, you know,
I
it was kind of
know.
like, this sucks. But,
Yeah.
you know,
It's just sad.
it's just a bummer. It's a bummer.
Poor Enzo and Bonnie.
I know.
You two deserve better. They were cute. Cute couple. All right, who do we have next? All right, we are on number 2. This goes out to a special lady that we talk about all the time on here. We're talking Marissa Cooper on the OC. Here we are talking about her death again.
We can't go more than like 6 weeks without bringing her up.
Well, I feel like this is a super iconic death.
Oh, huge.
And I feel like it is known for, in retrospect, not being a great idea.
Certainly, yeah.
Well, this is one of the only examples we have of a main character being killed off before the show is over. A lot of these ones that we've talked about, you know, they're killed off in the final season, final episode, or like Keith was a parent, you know.
Yeah.
Boo-hoo, whatever. You can only be so sad. But Marissa, the main character.
I mean, she was the girl next door. She was like the main, one of the 2 main characters.
Yeah.
You know, all over the show. When you thought of the OC, you think of Marissa Cooper.
And complete it girl. Like, this threw her into like superstardom. And it only makes it 3 seasons on the show.
Yeah.
And she tragically dies in a car accident perpetuated by Volchuk.
Yes, her ex-boyfriend.
Yes, that evil, evil man. We will never forgive you.
No. On the night of her graduation.
Yes. When she has finally found what we think is like some form of happiness, like she's trying to grow, she's trying to move her life forward and figure out like what's best for her.
Yeah, she's like, you know, being like, I'm not going to be messy Marissa anymore. She's trying to move forward. She's saying goodbye to Ryan respectfully, like, you know, thank you for all you've done. I'm going to go start over and work for my dad for a year and just sort of figure things out. She's going to like sort of eat, pray, love, take a gap year. And it seems like things are looking up for her. And then, you know, Volchek runs the car off the road. She dies. He carries her out. It's very upsetting.
Very memorable moment, though.
Oh, the image of Ryan like carrying Marissa down the road with the car burning behind him. Like, you've all seen it. You know what I'm talking about.
I mean, yeah, it's like burned into our brains. Like, we will never forget that. I'm going to be talking about that on my deathbed, probably. So what side are you on? Did this work for her story?
I think, you know, we've talked about this a bit, especially when we talked about the OC book. I see where they were coming from, the writers, where they were like, it would be hard to continue the show without her on it and just have her be at college or on the boat or whatever. Like, that would be weird. But at the same time, to kill her off, it's irreversible. You know, you can't fix that mistake if it's not working.
Yeah, and I feel like that's kind of a little bit what they learned. Like, it was just a different show after she died. It wasn't the same thing. And I think that at 14, 15, that's a little hard to like wrap your head around. It just feels very like, what is this? And even at that point too, like I was watching the DVDs from like season 1. So then it was hard to watch these newer episodes that just felt so different and you just kind of crave for what was.
Yeah, it completely changed the direction, the dynamics of the show. It became, like you said, something different. And I think, you know, they didn't really know what to do without her. She was such a central figure. She's tying together, you know, Julie Cooper and, you know, the Coens. And so then they have to like make Summer move in with Julie in the house. And then Taylor's there and they bring in Caitlin. And it's like, I enjoy those episodes. They're fun. But like, it's just like implausible to me.
Yeah, no, I'm like over it. I won't watch them again. Done. Ruin the show for me. I just feel like there was another way to keep her on the show, because I really would have loved to have seen some growth in Marissa a little bit. Like, she just had such a hard 3 years. I mean, if we listed it all out, it's wild. It's so much. And I just would have loved to have seen a little bit of growth, seen her happy.
Yeah, I think, she talks about finally, sort of growing up, moving on in that final episode. She's trying to do it and says like, oh, it was chaotic, but like, whatever. I would have liked to see her sort of like walk the walk a little bit, like actually go off and work for a living and become a little bit of a more responsible, thoughtful adult and not create havoc wherever you go. That would have been nice to see that, and how that changes her relationships with Ryan and Summer and everyone.
Yeah, I feel like we could have, seen her return from working on this boat for the summer, and she decides she wants to go to college or whatever, and we just see that journey of her life.
Yeah, and you can keep Taylor and Caitlin in there and see her butt heads with both of them.
Exactly.
Like, that would have been fun.
I think it could have worked.
Yeah.
Like, put your heads together, writers.
Honestly.
We could have come up with something here.
I know.
What could have been. What could have been. I would have loved to have seen her and Ryan reunited at Berkeley. Oh, my God. I would have been dying.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
In their Berkeley sweatshirts.
I mean, no disrespect to Marissa, but like, she doesn't seem like a Berkeley girl to me.
I know.
It never felt
that.
right. But, that's okay.
Well, maybe that's part of her growth.
Sure.
Well, maybe she wouldn't have lasted at Berkeley, and she would have come back, been in Southern California.
She would have transferred to USC so quick.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Maybe she would have become an activist like Summer. We don't know.
Oh, true. Yeah, she could have been radicalized.
Yeah. People change, Claire.
I know.
She's not going to be messy Marissa forever.
College certainly changes you.
Let
I'll give
her
her
be
that.
a teenager.
That's what I would have
Her
loved.
mom slept with her boyfriend. That's got to mess you up a little bit.
Just a little. Oh my God. Well,
R.I.P. Marissa. We loved you. We'll never forget you.
no, we will never stop talking about you. Couldn't if we tried.
All right, now we were on to our number one most shocking death. Drum roll, please, everybody. It's JJ Maybank. So we decided to put this one at number one because we feel like this has never really happened in one of these teen shows before, where a character dies when they are on top. Like, everyone is still loving the character. We're excited about the story. They were the supporting character at first, and now they're the main character in our hearts. Like, this is the first time we're seeing it. It's shocking. I'm still not over it, clearly.
Yeah, no, I think it's what's upsetting about this is, like you said, he starts off as like he's the best friend, but the fans responded to him so quickly, and they sort of rallied around him, made JJ a fan favorite. The writers responded to that in kind, and I know that they built this sort of fourth season, to showcase him, to sort of build to this conclusion, but like, did you have to do it? Like, especially if there was only going to be one more season. Like, if it was going to be 3 more seasons, I'd be like, fine. But knowing going into it that you're on the end of season 4 and there's only going to be a season 5, like, you couldn't have just kept him around for like 1 more year?
I know. That's how I feel. Well, now I'm really leaning towards he wanted off the show, because I don't really think it makes sense. Like, why would they want to kill off a main character like this? It would literally be like if they decided to kill off Seth Cohen in the OC. I mean, right? Like, honestly.
I mean, listen, you can count. There's so many characters on these teen shows that are like start as the lovable sidekick and then become the favorite number 1 guy on the show. Like
at least Styles and Teen Wolf.
Thank you. Exactly.
I mean, it would be like if we killed him off. I just feel like it's such a radical decision that I feel like now I'm fully on the side that like he was leaving or something. It just feels too crazy. And I'm honestly, look, we don't know what's going to happen with his story, we know what happened with his story, but we don't know what's going to happen in season 5 of Outer Banks. Like, maybe it will be good, but I am just worried that this will fall into the Marissa Cooper category of ruining the show.
I can see that. I feel like it won't, only because I think that they did this knowing where they were going to go.
Yeah, that's true.
The difference, I think, was with the OC, they killed Marissa, and then, as the writers have admitted, we're like, we don't know what to do now. Like, where do we go from here? And so I think with this, like, they have a plan. They have said that, you know, this is what season 5 is going to be about. It's going to be about avenging JJ, hopefully finally getting some treasure and making this dream come true. So I think because of that, I don't know that we'll ever accept it or be happy about it, but I don't think it's going to be like, we're not getting like wacky, you know, Taylor falls off a roof and has a crazy dream season 4 OC thing.
Yeah, I feel like that does make me feel a little bit better. Thank you, Claire. I'm just still a little worried over here. I just kind of wish that maybe they would have done this like early on in season 5, maybe, or something like that. Like, why did we have to do this now? And now we have to like wait, you know, a year and a half before it comes out to see what would have happened. And I think it's just tragic too, because again, I wanted to see JJ grow a little bit more. Be happy. This is such a tragic character. He doesn't have one bad dad. He has 2 bad dads.
2 bad dads. The baddest dad.
The worst dads. So I just would have loved to have seen him, you know, living happy with Key. Like, because even in season 4, he's making some wild decisions that like are infuriating and like hurting the group and the pose.
Yeah.
So I just would have loved to have seen him just mature, grow a little bit, like be that leader that we know he can be. And I'm sad that we didn't fully see that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's similar to like Jen Lindley. Like, I know it's a little different because of the gender dynamics that are at play there, but like, it's like he's always been the crazy one, the reckless one, the one that is loyal to a fault and will do anything for his friends. And so like, that's dangerous, but also to see that sort of like that level of friendship be rewarded by his death is kind of like, it's kind of shitty.
Yeah, definitely. And like, give us some better moments with him and Kiara if you're gonna kill him off,
because
like,
we know they're capable of that.
I know. Give him a send off.
I know.
Show me a makeout. Like, come on.
Even like a nice, like genuine hand holding and not like a handshake.
If I see one more handshake,
no body
I'm gonna
doubles.
lose it.
None of that crap. Absolutely not.
I know.
Come on.
I mean, just so sad.
Even like a good like longing look, like a look of love.
Yeah.
Like they could have done more of that.
I would have taken it.
Right? And that could have been done with a body double too. We didn't.
But they had to give us a sandstorm where like no one can see anybody.
Yeah.
Look, we'll see what happens. This is one that we don't fully know the repercussions of how this will change the story and, you know, how it will proceed. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We will see.
R.I.P. JJ, we miss you already.
I know, honestly. I'm just still in mourning, I think. I'm going through the stages of grief. I think I might be on anger now.
Yeah, it seems like it. It's still a little fresh, but that's okay.
All right. So we did our top 5 countdown. Let us know what you think in the comments. If you disagree with us or have another character death that really affected you, let us know. But let's talk about some characters that we wish would have been killed off. So these are people who beat the odds, were on every season, and maybe we wish that they wouldn't have been.
You know, I'm going to kick us off. We never had a really shocking death on Gossip Girl.
I know.
I mean, the only death that I was thinking about, and I was like, Bart Bass, but then he comes back and it wasn't really that shocking.
I can't believe we didn't get like a side character drug overdose or
That's-
something. Like that just feels weird. Like that feels Gossip Girl. Do it.
100%. That was like the most logical like method of death that I could come up with, was like somebody overdosing.
Yeah.
Because that just feels right for that like whole scene.
Right.
And my candidates for this would be, I mean, Vanessa, top of the list.
Oof, yeah.
So boring. Sorry, girl, but like, don't need you.
I see your Vanessa and I raise you an Eric. Because what was Eric's purpose on Gossip Girl? I mean, I feel like Serena was just acting like an only child anyways. Like, I feel like he had no storylines. We didn't really need him.
Yeah, Eric, boring. Didn't need him either.
I mean, I'm ready to kill off Topper and Outer Banks. Like, what is his purpose anymore? I feel like we're not even going to get as much of the Kooks versus Pokes things, although we got Rafe on the Poke side right now. So I'm kind of like, Is he going to be in season 5? I don't know. We'll see. Maybe like go off to college or something at least. Maybe we don't need a death, but we need like a college.
Yeah, I mean, he is about that age, and I agree. Like, he just like doesn't have a purpose anymore. He's got this like evil girlfriend who really doesn't do anything except stand there and like make faces at people. I don't know. Like, just get rid of him. Goodbye.
Well, we got to talk about one of the strongest survivors we've ever seen, Matt Donovan, surviving all 8 seasons of the Vampire Diaries as a human, the only one to not become supernatural.
I mean, that is his defining personality trait, is that he's human. Other than that, who cares?
Would you have wanted him to be killed off?
I don't really need him, but at the same time, I feel like it is important to have a human character in the mix, in the group. And they, you know, I think he's the one that rings the bell in the series finale. Excuse me. It has to be him because he's the literally only human who can do it, who can save them.
I liked when they used him in that way. I felt like they really brought it around for him in the last season, which I enjoyed. And I did just kind of think it was like almost a funny joke as a viewer that he kept surviving. Like, it was kind of funny. Like, you know, that was a joke in the writer's room or something of like, we're not going to do it. We're not killing Matt Donovan.
No, we're not going to make him a vampire. We're going to keep him alive. I think his main purpose too was because he's human, he's vulnerable. He's always the one that's in danger. Yeah. So like, it's a very easy way to be like, oh, we gotta do something. Well, we're gonna put the human in danger, and then someone has to go save him. So, you know, I would keep Matt Donovan around. Who I would have gotten rid of would have been Jeremy.
Right. Yeah. He was a little bit of a drag.
Yeah. Just, you know, younger brother, real sad. And I get it. Your parents died, but like, he's annoying. Like, he's so annoying about it. He doesn't really fit with the rest of the group, isn't really friends with them, and is just constantly like, Ma, Elena, blah, blah, blah. Like,
okay, he got hot though in season 3. Let's not forget that. I like the seasons when he got hot.
Fair enough. He could get hot, but I was like, there were other hot men too.
This got a little dark.
Like, I hope they die.
This got a little dark. We love all these characters. We're happy they survived. But, you know, if we had to choose, if someone had to die in these shows, maybe it could have been them. All right, Jesse, are you ready to quiz us on some last words?
I'm ready. Are you guys ready? Is the question.
I'm ready.
Okay. I was doing my research all day.
So Jesse is going to give us some quotes from characters of these were their last words.
Well, I'm going to do a little bit of a mix.
Oh, so tell us.
I was looking up these characters' last words, and some of them are like a little too obvious. So I'm also going to sometimes have you all tell me what you think this character's last words were.
Okay, fine.
So we'll flip back and forth. So we'll start with a few that you guys did talk about in the episode today. This one was one where I was like, you're going to know what it is if I say it, but can you tell me Marissa's last words?
It's like
Ryan. Like,
it's stay. No, it's like stay with me.
Yeah.
I think she says like, stay with me, don't go, or something like that.
It's no, stay, don't leave. So
right. Okay.
Claire gets the points for that one.
She says Ryan at one point.
Yeah.
When she's coughing up blood or whatever.
Disgusting. Whose last words, at least on screen, were, I want her to belong. I feel like I never really did.
That's Jen.
Yeah.
Good. Yes. Jen
yeah.
Lindley. What were Keith's last words?
I feel like it was like, Danny, don't.
Yeah, it's something
like that.
Yeah.
So his last words before he died physically were, he's gone, Danny, he's gone.
Okay, yeah. Oh. And then it's like that look of shock.
Yeah. And he doesn't say anything because he's too stunned to speak.
But he does come back several times,
right,
as we talked about, as a hallucination.
These are last words as a human.
Last words as a human. Do you know what his actual last line was on the show?
Oh, he brings Dan into heaven, like,
and he says, "Don't worry, little brother, you're with me," or something like that.
You're my +1. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Because Dan says, "I don't know if I'm going to the same place you're going."
Right.
Which is good. Okay, so those were the ones that we talked about on the show. I have a few others that we didn't talk about yet. Whose last words were, you have to tell my dad?
Allison from Teen Wolf.
Yeah.
Oh, good one.
Thank you.
This was a commonly misquoted online one because most people say it was the I love you, Scott, or whatever.
She's like, it's perfect. I'm dying in the arms of my first love. I know that speech very well.
But then she throws in there at the end, tell my dad.
Weird. Okay.
So weird. Okay, this was another complicated one. Stefan's character has many last lines because he's goes through a lot of phases. Mm-hmm. What were his last lines on the show?
Isn't I was feeling epic?
Yes. So that's his last line on the whole show. But do you know what his last line was, like, alive?
It's something to Catherine, right? Because he grabs Catherine and he's like holding her there so that like they can both die.
Does he say bitch? Like,
I feel like he wouldn't say that. Like Damon would say that.
I know,
but
you're right.
No, he said. Do you want to guess? Or no?
I don't know what it would be.
Yeah, I only
You're thinking of the right, like,
right, like it's something to Catherine.
well,
yeah.
It's not to Catherine, but
Is it the thing that like Elena is like telling Caroline like?
Well, he says that when he's in like limbo. Whatever.
Okay.
He's not really alive at that point. His last line alive was "Goodbye, brother."
Oh, right.
Yeah. You should have known.
Okay.
Yeah.
We should have known.
Thought you would have got that. Okay, and then the last one.
Not bitch.
You're going to hell, bitch.
That's my last line. Bitch.
Okay, tell me whose last words were, check this out.
Check this out.
It's not a show we talked about yet today.
Not okay.
Today, but we've talked
about it.
Check this out. Wow, this is funny.
Is it Beverly Hills 90210?
Yes.
It's Scott with the gun, and he's playing with the gun because he's into like Western shit, and he's like blah blah blah, and shoots himself.
Okay, that is crazy.
Okay, so
that is wild.
When I was looking up crazy deaths, I was like, this one is.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah, so because he was a main character in season 1. He was in the opening credits in season 1, and then he gets demoted,
right?
Or he's like basically written off the show, but they bring him back for an episode where he accidentally shoots himself.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
That is sad.
That was the 90s.
That's a pretty funny scene.
That's bad. That's bad. Wow.
And that's all I got. Good job, guys.
Nice. That was fun.
Those were good.
Check this out.
I love homework. Give me homework.
Now I'm going to just keep saying, check this out. So funny.
Oh my God.
All right. Well, before we go, we usually do our as if rants, but instead, we're each going to give a eulogy to one of the characters we talked about.
Yes.
And we're still keeping it light. Don't worry, people.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want me to go first?
I think, yeah, you go ahead and kick us off.
All right. So I'll be doing a eulogy for JJ Maybank. Yeah, I feel like we have
a post.
And we're going to put some somber music under this or something. I feel like I'm going to tear up while reading
Just like
this.
add Danny Boy underneath
I'm getting
it.
emotional. JJ Maybank was the heartbeat of the Pogues, a fiercely loyal friend whose courage, unwavering love, and massive mistakes and judgment will never be forgotten. Though his journey ended too soon by his sociopathic father, JJ's legacy lives on in the adventures he inspired and the damage he did to the downtown OBX storefronts. Rest easy, JJ. You'll always be the king of the cut and the king of my heart.
Yay.
R.I.P.
Beautiful. All right. It's going to be hard to follow that, but I'll give it a try. This goes out to Enzo St. John, a man who lived many lives and was many things to many people. A sort of pet kept boy to Lily Salvatore.
I forgot about that.
Yes.
Sorry.
A friend to Damon Salvatore, but most importantly, the one true love of Bonnie Bennett. And while his time with her and our time with him was far too brief, his impact will live on in the lives and memories of everyone he knew. Enzo was willing to give up immortality and ultimately die for love, and may we all continue to live by his example. Fly high, King.
Beautiful words.
Thank
beautiful. Wow. Wow. Maybe we should write some eulogies or something.
Yeah, if you need us to ghostwrite your eulogy.
Yeah, anytime a character dies, I'm going to write one of these. Well, I would say, for kind of a morbid episode, we kept it upbeat, ladies.
Yeah, we had fun with it.
Yeah. It is just so fascinating of like when a main character dies like this on one of these shows, like how it has that ripple effect and how it's sad for viewers too. So it's kind of fun to dive into and really dissect it because it usually has, you know, quite a big impact.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're doing it right, you know, it's not just like, oh, they're dead and we move on quickly. You want to know that at least it serves larger storyline purposes. So,
well, we'll see, Outer Banks.
Yeah.
We will see. On that note, thank you all so much for listening. Claire, tell them where they can find us.
you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. And please be sure to follow us, subscribe, rate and review us, give us 5 stars. You can also find us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at previously on _teen TV. Thanks for listening.